When it comes to American performance, the spotlight usually goes straight to the Mustangs, Camaros, and Corvettes. But here's the thing, some of the wildest cars to ever come out of the US weren't the obvious choices. These are the ones hiding in plain sight. In this video, I'm breaking down 5 American sleepers you need to know. Let's get into it. Starting strong with a sedan that shocked everyone, the Pontiac G8. A 4-door family car on the outside, but under the hood, serious power that turned it into a highway menace. Despite wearing a Pontiac badge, the G8 wasn't even really a Pontiac. It was a rebadged version of the Holden Commodore from Australia. In the late 2000s, General Motors, which owned Pontiac, decided to bring this Australian muscle sedan across the ocean to the US, slap a Pontiac badge on it, and see what happened. Released in early 2008 in the US and later in Canada in 2009, the G8 was like a kangaroo in a muscle suit. Foreign, yet uniquely capable of taking on American muscle car standards. So what was it about the G8 that made it stand out? Well, for one, it was built on the Australian Zeta platform, which also underpinned the Chevy Camaro. This gave the G8 solid foundations for both performance and handling. But that's just the beginning. The base G8 came with a 3.6-liter V6 engine that pushed out a respectable 256 horsepower. While this wasn't enough to set the world on fire, it was a solid entry-level offering. It was paired with a 5-speed automatic transmission, and it offered 17 miles per gallon in the city and 25 mpg on the highway. Not bad for a big sedan, and definitely better than many of its competitors. Standard features included traction control, stability control, 18-inch alloy wheels, and a nice audio system, which at the time was decent for a car in its price range. And if you wanted a bit more luxury, you could opt for the comfort and the sound package, which upgraded the audio system and climate controls, or the premium package, which added leather seating and seat heaters. These options made the base model G8 a practical choice for those looking for a daily driver with a bit of style. But here's where the G8 started to shine. The G8 GT, the model that actually made people sit up and take notice. This one was packing a 6.0-liter V8 engine that cranked out 361 horsepower, mated to a 6-speed automatic transmission. With a 0 to 60 time of just 5.2 seconds and a quarter-mile time of 13.4 seconds, it was clear that the G8 GT was built for performance. In 2009, GM made some updates to the GT. New catalytic converters dropped power down to 355 horsepower, but they also added Bluetooth connectivity and rear cup holders. Because, hydration is important. The GT was also equipped with quad tailpipes and a Blaupunkt sound system that was likely decent. It had a refined yet aggressive look that captured attention without being over the top. The G8 GT was a great all-around performer, blending power, comfort, and a touch of luxury. Then, just when you thought Pontiac had given it their all, they pulled out the G8 GXP. This was Pontiac's swan song, and they weren't holding anything back. The GXP was powered by a 6.2-liter LS3 V8, borrowed straight from the Corvette. With 415 horsepower, the GXP was a beast. It could go from 0 to 60 in just 4.5 seconds and cover the quarter mile in 13 seconds flat at nearly 110 miles per hour. It was one of the fastest sedans of its time. But the GXP wasn't just about power. It had an upgraded Nürburgring-tuned FE3 suspension, Brembo brakes, a unique front bumper, and a rear diffuser that actually worked. It was a performance sedan designed for true driving enthusiasts. You could even get it with a Tremec 6-speed manual transmission, which made it a rare find for gearheads who wanted a more hands-on driving experience. Next up, the little compact that nobody saw coming, the Dodge Neon SR T4. It looked like a grocery getter, but it packed enough turbocharged punch to humble way more expensive cars. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wait, didn't they make a 4-cylinder economy car with a turbo? Yes, they did. And let me tell you, it wasn't just any economy car. It was Dodge building a performance car that will not only give expensive sports cars a run for their money, but it'll do it at a fraction of the price. This car's story is as interesting as its performance. The Dodge Neon SRT4 was produced between 2003 and 2005, and it was part of Dodge's Street and Racing Technology or SRT division. But instead of focusing on muscle cars or trucks, the SRT division turned their attention to something far less likely to win a street race, the humble Dodge Neon. Now, I know what you're thinking. The Dodge Neon was not exactly what you'd call a performance car. In fact, the regular Neon was a subcompact economy car that your grandma probably drove to the grocery store. It was built to be affordable and practical with a focus on reliability rather than performance. So what did SRT do? They took the basic architecture of the Neon and completely transformed it into a turbocharged, performance-driven powerhouse. Under the hood of the neon SRT4, you'll find a 2.4-liter turbocharged inline-4 engine. And yes, it was a serious upgrade over the base engine. In its early years, the SRT4 put down 215 horsepower and 245 foot-pounds of torque. Impressive numbers for a car this light and inexpensive. But Dodge wasn't content with just that, so in later models, the power was bumped up to 230 horsepower and 250 foot-pounds of torque. In a world where a four-cylinder engine wasn't expected to be taken seriously, the SRT4 came out swinging, proving that a turbocharged four-cylinder could pack a punch. When you think about cars in its class, we're talking about models like the Subaru WRX and the Honda Civic, but this little neon was giving them a serious run for their money. Quarter-mile times were typically in the high 13-second range, which put it squarely in line with early 2000s Ford Mustangs and Camaros. Not bad for a car that was priced in the low $20,000 range. Throw a few bolt-ons on this thing, like a bigger turbo, intake, exhaust, and a proper tune, and you were easily looking at 280, 300 horsepower, beating V8-powered competitors with ease. Now, one of the coolest aspects of the SRT4 was its turbocharger setup. Dodge worked with Mitsubishi on this one, and it wasn't just any turbo. This turbo featured an integrated compressor bypass valve built directly into the housing. Why? It was all about space saving and efficiency, allowing for a cleaner, more compact design. The manifold and turbine housing were also cast as a single piece, improving airflow and cutting down on costs. Dodge wasn't just throwing power at the car without thinking it through. But let's not sugarcoat it. The performance was not without its issues. Due to the car being front-wheel drive, all that power had to go to the front wheels, which meant torque steer was a big issue. If you've ever driven a car with a serious torque steer, you know what I mean. It can be a little unsettling, especially when you're mashing the throttle. But if you like that feeling of rawness and unpredictability, then the SRT4 was right up your alley. At number 3, the Undercover Cop Special, the Chevrolet Caprice PPV. Built for police duty, but when civilians got their hands on them, they quickly realized it was basically a sleeper muscle car in disguise. A car that over the years has transformed from a luxury cruiser to a law enforcement cruiser. To truly appreciate the legacy of the Chevrolet Caprice, we need to rewind to 1965. At this point, the Caprice started out as a luxury trim package for the popular Chevrolet Impala. But, like many good ideas, Chevy quickly realized it had more potential. The year 1966 saw the Caprice become its own standalone model, and from that moment on, it became a staple of American roads. But by 1996, Chevrolet officially pulled the plug on the Caprice, at least in the US. Or so we thought. Then came 2011. Chevy decided to bring the Caprice back, but with a bit of a twist. This time, it wasn't just a luxury car for civilians, it was going to be a law enforcement vehicle. But here's the thing, this car wasn't even built in the United States. It was actually an Australian-built Holden Caprice, imported into North America for police duty. For the first time, the car came in multiple trims, LS, LTZ, SS, and Royale. The LS was the base model, which kept things simple with no fog lights and a basic bumper. The LTZ added a bit more luxury, including upgraded interior materials. Then there was the Royale, which was the true baller spec of the Caprice lineup. This version was equipped with LCD screens in the headrests, a DVD player, and even a grille borrowed from the Daewoo Veritas. The SS, on the other hand, was a sportier version of the Caprice, designed for those who wanted a little more thrill behind the wheel, though it wasn't exactly a muscle car. By 2011, the Caprice underwent even more changes. Chevy made the V8 engine standard across all trims. Previously, the LS and LTZ trims offered V6 engines, but by 2011, Chevy decided it was time to make the V8 the standard engine for most markets. This was also the year the badging changed, with the Caprice name moving from the chrome trim to the trunk. The Royale got a rear-view camera, while the SS got some performance-inspired updates, including design elements from the WM Caprice 5 series. In 2013, the Caprice was updated once more, with the WN Caprice update. The Royale received a new bumper, matching the sporty design of the Caprice SS, and the interior materials were improved to match the Holden Commodore Calais. Even the SS received some love, getting a rear-view camera and an interior refresh to match the Royale's upgraded features. While civilians loved the Caprice for its comfort, size, and overall appeal, law enforcement loved it for entirely different reasons. Okay, let me switch things up real quick. Like, literally. Okay, that's better. Now we're talking about the Dodge Magnum SRT8. It's a wagon, sure, but a wagon packing a V8. Grocery runs never looked so fast. The Dodge Magnum SRT8 isn't your average station wagon. It's a high-performance vehicle that takes muscle car vibes and throws them into the world of practicality. When it debuted in 2005 at the Los Angeles Auto Show and hit the streets in 2006, it caught everyone's attention. In a market where people usually sacrifice performance for practicality, the Magnum SRT8 became a rare breed, offering both in spades. It was sleek, muscular, and could carry your family, your gear, or even your dog. But with a monstrous Hemi engine under the hood, this car was definitely not just for errands. Let's break down the engine a bit further because, let's be honest, that's what most of you are here for. The Magnum SRT8 uses a 6.1-liter Hemi V8, an engine that has become iconic for its performance. 425 horsepower and a 0 to 60 in 5.1 seconds. That's no joke. Just so you get the picture, in the quarter mile, this thing blasts through it in 13.1 seconds at 108 miles per hour. That's muscle car territory, but with enough practicality to keep your dog in the back. It's not just for show either. This car moves. Behind the wheel, you'll immediately notice that the Magnum SRT8 feels like it was born to make you grin. The firmer suspension and larger Brembo brakes don't just make it look tough, they make it handle tough. Turn in the corners and you'll notice the road hugging you right back. That firm suspension, it's there for a reason, to keep this beast stable at high speeds, but also to ensure it doesn't have the road manners of a runaway shopping cart. The steering is responsive, and you can feel the weight shift as you corner, giving you that sports car feel, even though the car weighs much more than the average sedan. It's an experience you won't forget. Inside, it's a whole different world. You wouldn't expect a muscle car to feel this refined, but the Magnum SRT8 pulls it off. The interior features a leather-wrapped steering wheel, performance-oriented gauges, and a clean layout. It's not over the top with flashy materials, but it's functional, comfortable, and surprisingly spacious. Whether you're hauling a family, luggage, or just trying to look cool in the grocery store parking lot, the Magnum's cabin gives you the space to do it. One of the standout features of the Magnum SRT8's interior is its practicality. Despite the high-performance nature of the vehicle, the cabin is surprisingly spacious for a vehicle in its class. The seats are comfortable, offering ample support for long drives, while the rear offers plenty of room for passengers or luggage. Whether you're packing for a road trip or just taking a quick errand run, the Magnum SRT8 makes it easy to load up your gear and still enjoy the thrill of the drive. Now, let's talk about the exterior, because you're not driving around a car like this without wanting to look good doing it. The Magnum SRT8 has one of the most distinctive muscle car silhouettes of the mid-2000s. It's like someone took a wagon, threw in some steroids, and gave it an aggressive front fascia with a larger lower grille for those brake cooling ducts. It's a look that says, "I'm ready for action," without being obnoxious about it. The 20-inch wheels fill out the wheel wells just right, giving the car a wide, planted stand. It's the kind of design that you can spot from a mile away, and you'll probably have to dodge a few gawkers while you're driving. The aggressive styling is a key part of the Magnum SRT8's personality. It's not a car that tries to hide its muscle, it embraces it. The design is bold, but it's not overdone. The large, functional grille serves both form and function, allowing for better airflow to cool the engine, while the rear end is just as menacing with its dual exhaust tips that give a hint of what's to come when you step on the throttle. It's a car that looks like it could take on the world, yet it still has that family-friendly wagon shape that makes it practical. In 2008, Dodge gave the Magnum SRT8 a facelift because, hey, why not make a cool car even cooler? The updated front fascia gave the Magnum a sharper look, with those more aggressive headlights and a smaller, more dynamic grille. If you were lucky enough to grab one of these new models, you'd also get that larger lower grille to help with brake cooling, a necessity when you've got all that horsepower to handle. And at number 1, the ultimate curveball, the Chevrolet HHR SS. It looks like a retro delivery van, but don't let that fool you. With a turbocharged engine and handling tuned by the same team behind the Cobalt SS, this thing was way quicker than anyone expected. The Chevrolet HHR, first introduced in 2005, was a vehicle that tried to mix practicality with a retro-inspired design, channeling the spirit of the iconic 1949 Chevrolet Suburban. The HR's overall vibe was quirky, an economy-minded compact wagon with a unique boxy shape that tried to evoke the charm of the 1950s. But let's be honest, the regular HR wasn't exactly setting hearts on fire and isn't why you are here. Sure, it had a decent list of features, was relatively affordable, and had good fuel economy. But in the world of cars, where enthusiasts crave performance and excitement, the HR was far from an object of desire. It had potential but lacked something. That's where Chevrolet's performance division came into play, and suddenly, things got interesting. Enter the HHR SS. Back in 2006, Chevrolet decided they wanted to make something special. Cheryl Catton, the director of car marketing, confirmed that a high-performance version of the HHR was in the works. That announcement alone was enough to spark curiosity among the automotive community. It was a bold move to take a vehicle like the HHR, a utilitarian, somewhat uncool wagon, and transform it into a performance-oriented sleeper. It wasn't just another quirky retro-styled wagon, it was a turbocharged powerhouse. The moment that the HHR SS was revealed to the public, it was clear that GM had put serious thought into making it more than just a visual upgrade. On August 16, 2007, Chevrolet unveiled the 2008 HHR SS at the Woodward Dream Cruise in Michigan. The event showcased a new breed of performance vehicles, and this was Chevrolet's entry into the fray. This wasn't just some badge-engineered attempt at sportiness. GM actually put in the work. The HHR SS was packing a 2.0-liter turbocharged Ecotec LNF engine, the same one found in the Pontiac Solstice GXP and Saturn Sky Redline. This engine wasn't just slapped onto the HHR SS for show. It was a carefully engineered power plant designed to deliver impressive performance. With the 5-speed manual, the HHR SS pushed out a solid 260 horsepower, which was impressive for a car of its size and class. Opt for the 4-speed automatic though, and you were left with 235 horsepower, a downgrade, but still respectable. This turbocharged power was sent to the front wheels, and anyone who's driven a front-wheel drive car with that much power knows that torque steer becomes an inevitable part of the experience. GM wasn't oblivious to that fact, and they equipped the HHR SS with the FE5 performance suspension, which helped improve the car's handling and overall road manners. The suspension system included features like specially tuned dampers, a thicker rear sway bar, and reworked geometry that gave the HHR SS surprisingly good handling for what was essentially a turbocharged cargo van. Speaking of stopping power, GM didn't skimp on the brakes. 4-wheel anti-lock disc brakes were standard because, let's face it, if you're hauling around 260 horses in a front-wheel drive van, you need all of the stopping power you can get. The suspension, brakes, and turbocharged engine combined to create a performance vehicle that was unexpectedly fun to drive, turning heads everywhere it went. So there you have it, 5 American sleepers that prove performance doesn't always come from the usual suspects. Which one surprised you the most? Drop your pick in the comments. And if you love discovering underrated performance cars, make sure to like and subscribe. See you in the next one.